we are back with another one of our San Diego Comic-Con visual guides. The last couple years we've done this of actually heading and taking a look at the map and the floor and being very specific about some things there. It is the thing I enjoy most at Comic-Con, is hitting the floor, particularly the freebies, but definitely the exclusives as well. So we'll talk about that. But I think before we get to any of the specifics of the floor, we're going to talk just about the exclusives and the whole online portal, lottery, and all of that. 'Cause as we're recording this, we don't know whether we, won a spot for any of the lotteries or not. And so there's a lot of questions of how that's going to work. But one thing's for sure is whether we win, whether we lose, whether we're able to get into those booths or not, it's going to be a very different year in terms of how exclusives work at some of the big spots. So real quick, thinking about Funko, thinking about Hasbro, thinking about Lego, it's interesting because like Lego's a booth that we have never really bothered with the exclusives there just because it's always been too nuts. And now we have entered this lottery, and so maybe we will win or maybe not. And obviously that's kind of the problem with the lottery, is people like me that weren't willing to put in the time to wait overnight for Lego now have a chance at getting something from Lego. Meanwhile, I was willing to put the time in at Hasbro, and now maybe I'm not going to get Hasbro. So it is what it is. So I just wanted to real quick kind of go over kind of what my thoughts are in terms of the steps. So to use an example, for myself, a real big goal this year is to get that Star Wars Dr. Aphra Vintage Collection set from Hasbro, okay? So if we win the lottery, step one, obviously, no worries. We win the lottery, we'll go get in line and get our item, and that's the end of that. But let's talk about the, what's gonna happen for tons of people, obviously, is that we're not gonna be able to get into something. And so let's say we don't get in. So the next step from there, if we don't get in for that lottery, is really being very careful and conscientious about talking to the people at the Hasbro booth about how this is all going to work. Same for Funko, same for Lego. Again, just using Hasbro as an example, but no one really knows in actuality how this is going to work from day to day. If a ton of people that had the 12 p.m. slot on Thursday decide that there's, they really want to be part of some panel in Hall H or Ballroom 20 or whatever, and they don't show up, are they going to let standby people in? Is it going to be on a case-by-case basis? Is it only going to be at the lines at half capacity? One thing we know for sure is Hasbro, Funko, and Lego want to sell all of their stock, or at least as much of it as they can, just like any other year. So regardless of this new system of how they give out the tickets, they want, in the end, these lines packed and moving the product. So I will be checking in with Hasbro if I don't win the lottery and just seeing, is there going to be any chance to get this item without a lottery ticket? If I just stand, or obviously you can't stand because, security wants you moving. If I just am in constant motion in a circle here all day on Thursday, not that I would actually do that, but if I am that and all of a sudden this is at half capacity, are you going to let people in? And they may, the answers will vary probably from person to person there, but I will definitely be diligent about checking that. The third thing I'll do is I'm going to definitely fill out anybody I know that may have won the lottery. Does anybody I know, or are there any personal friends of mine, people that I text, is kind of where I draw the line. So not people just on some random Facebook group. We'll get to that in a second, but people that I text and say, hey, is anybody win Hasbro? Is anybody willing to part with their Aphra? Anybody willing to help me out there? So turning kind of to my own personal social network is third level there. Fourth level for me, though, then is going to something like we have our own San Diego Comic-Con attendee group over on Facebook over at Parks and Cons. You can check that out if you're not already a member. But then probably heading over there, if all of this isn't seeming to work out by Friday, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get that Dr. Aphra set, I'm going to go over there on Friday and say, hey, has anybody had any luck getting the Dr. Aphra set? Is anybody not interested in it? If so, is there anything you're looking to trade for it? And maybe it's something I've already picked up. I'm a Premier Guild member for Gentle Giant, so I've already pre-ordered some things from them from their San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. I pre-ordered a couple things from NECA. I pre-ordered a couple things from Mattel. Some of them I pre-ordered specifically because I want them. Some of them I pre-ordered because I thought this might be something I can trade if it's super hot at the convention. And so maybe there's something I have there that they're willing to trade straight up, and then again, problem solved. And then I guess kind of going from there, if the Facebook group can't help me, or Twitter can't help me, or any of those social connections can't help me, my last stop is just simply I'm going to wait and buy it off eBay in like December once the market cools. Most exclusives, the market will cool. Some of the worst time usually to buy a lot of them is in July. So I'll wait till people's attention turn to other things and then pick it up. I can be patient. I don't have a problem with being patient on that. So that's kind of just outline how I'm going to approach approach the exclusive portals. Obviously, I'm hoping I just win and get into these things, but I'm not counting on that. I'm guessing I'm going to have to use those other strategies there. So wanted to start out kind of talking about that. Now, that said, with the exclusive changes, the entire floor experience is going to be a little bit different, because you're not going to have, I mean, you used to have people really trying to storm a lot of these booths, and I mean, you probably will still have that a little bit, but I think it's just much more communicated now that people will know, well, I'm not going to be able to just go get in line at Funko. There's not going to really be that experience. I need to have done this online portal. It closed July 12th. I got in or I didn't get in, and this is how I'm going to proceed from there. So let's talk about just kind of the general layout here. From end to end, we've got our gaming over here, and so this is usually of most interest to those that want those kind of hands-on experiences, that they want to head over to Nintendo or Blizzard, Capcom, and places like that. They want to see the things close up. They want to play the games. They want to pick up whatever the exclusive might be at the booth. And we're going to talk about kind of the entry points, because you've got two, well, really you've got three options of entering the floor, but we'll get to that in a second. But first off, to our far right, very much separated, a lot of kind of no man's land. I mean, there's a lot of our favorite vendors are in what we call no man's land here, but we call it that because it doesn't have these big obstacles of some of these big name booths like that. Then at the center of the floor, we have, honestly, this is like my favorite section, probably in a lot of ways, right in here from DC. You've got your Marvel and Image, Skybound mixed in there, Dark Horse, Lucasfilm, Mattel, etc. All of these booths are going to have mega giveaways. They're going to have mega exclusives. Some that haven't, for example, Alex Ross, that's never really been big on the exclusives. Now they've got all sorts of different prints and comics and stuff, and those are going to bring their own lines. You know, the swirl of humanity around the Marvel booth, from Marvel Shop to the cool things they have going on the stage. Lots of fun things to see, but obviously a very crowded part of the floor, the worst part of the floor to actually try to navigate. So, you know, we're always looking, can we go to extremes to get away from the crowds? Problem with going to the extremes is if there's a cool giveaway happening at one of these, you'll miss it. And then if we move over towards the Hall H, kind of Artist Alley side of things, obviously entering the floor, we've got our Artist Alley, the Fantasy Illustrators, all of that area there, which is, you know, all of Comic-Con is crowded. But again, it's not having the swirl of humanity that something like a WB booth is going to have, or ABC, or so on. So that's kind of a general rundown. Now let's talk about actually accessing the floor and kind of your options there if you've not been, you know, a big floor hunter in the past. So first up, very important to note, the floor will open at 9 a.m. if at all possible. And I don't know if I remember a Comic-Con where it hasn't opened at 9 a.m. They're really amazing and consistent, especially if you go to a lot of cons like we do and see a lot of shows struggle to open up on time. The fact that they publish 9:30 and they really try to have attendees on the floor at 9 a.m. is absolutely spectacular and amazing, and very much appreciated by this Comic-Con veteran. For those that are like, well, but I've waited before and I didn't get on the floor till 9:30 or a little after, that is probably because you were trying to access from the first floor at one of these entrances. When you come inside the convention center, and we covered this in our other visual guides that you can find on our YouTube channel or over at the SDCCblog.com, you have two choices. Or when you're coming into the convention center, you're going to go up that escalator. You can head upstairs. I should say two good choices. You'll head up the escalator. Either you're going to make that right to get in line at sales and come down the escalator over here, or you're going to make that left around the back of Ballroom 20, and you're going to be coming in down the escalator over here and entering near Hall H. Either way, it's a matter of, do I want to come and attack the floor from this way or attack the floor from this way? Now, if gaming is the goal, obviously you're going to be a salesperson, no doubt about it. Honestly, for Carmel and I, it really comes down to, we get there in the morning, we judge both sides. We usually take a visual look at how long the lines are on both sides, and then we go with the lesser of the lines, because we find that usually if all things are exactly the same, coming down this way usually is much more difficult to navigate, because it's really like you're instantly in a kind of claustrophobic situation. These are pretty narrow aisles here. You've got a mess always at Marvel, so it's like a wall to get around. Entertainment Earth's line is usually, and so it's like all of your arteries are really pretty clogged and difficult. So again, sometimes we'll do it, but more times than not, we do still use the old kind of Hall H side escalator. And we come in here, and then I basically try to read the floor. Now, coming in, it's important in terms of, you know, hitting the floor at open there. You really have about a half hour maybe an hour max. I mean, by 10 a.m., the floor is going to be a mess. So you've got kind of that 9 to 9:30 where you can actually move freely for a while and pick up all kinds of cool swag or get in a good spot for an exclusive line. You know, as I've had that situation where I've been able to pick up a bunch of cool little giveaways, pick up a signing from some, you know, enter a lottery at Dark Horse Inner Lottery, and then I'm able to come back here and get to nearly the front of the line of Funimation or something like that. Now for myself, that's like my favorite thing, practically one of my favorite things of the entire year is just that, being on the floor of Comic-Con right at 9 a.m. trying to find cool little things. For Carmel, she doesn't like that frenzied chaos, and I totally get that. She would rather know what she's getting, go find a line, get in it, and make sure she's okay. So she would, you know, as an example, let's say it's Thursday morning, I'm going to be here kind of ping-ponging, you know, or pinballing around, I guess is a better likeness, just trying to find things. And very important note, in Parks and Cons, I tweet all that stuff in real time in the morning. You know, if I see something cool at Lego, I'll grab it and I'm instantly tweeting it as I'm walking away with it in my hand here to Lucasfilm. And I will be tweeting all of these things as I'm around the floor, so you can follow with. I mean, I know it's crazy to pay attention to social media if you're on the floor at that time, but I definitely will be sharing everything we find on the floor. Obviously, once I have my own hands on it first. But she, you know, she may just go over here to Lucasfilm Pavilion, get in line for Hallmark, and get our ornaments. And because she likes that idea of being in line, she knows how it works. She's able to grind it out. I wouldn't like doing what she does. She wouldn't like doing what I do. So especially if you have some friends going to the con, maybe you can find that you have some, you know, abilities or interests that are different that you can kind of help match up. If not, though, you know, I think you really just want to have a good time with it in the morning and target what you're able to target. So if I'm coming in, to give you an example, then I'm coming in here, I'm looking at where things look slow, because some people walk very slow. Now there's no running, I'm not going to be running, but you know, some people walk faster than others, and I'm a pretty fast walker. So as I'm seeing people in front of me, maybe, oh, this looks kind of like a slow group here, I'm going to cut back up here or whatever, but I'm kind of making decisions. Now I like to make the right. I very rarely do anything with the WB booth. Funko is already going to be having their new procedures there. I'm not messing with that. ABC has a bunch of fantastic offerings this year. Haven't decided if I'm going to participate in any of those. They've got signings with people like from the Goldbergs and old TGIF people, and just a lot of fun things. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to be a huge draw there. They've got a ton of cool exclusives, so it'll be interesting to see how that booth works, and I think it's going to be a popular target. But for me, I'm really liking heading over here, seeing, you know, is Netflix giving away posters? Does Hasbro or Mattel have any signings or some fun little giveaways for, you know, different toys or things like that? Is there any soft lines here? Maybe Mattel has a soft line and there's something else I want to pick up there, so I'm going to be able to jump in line there. And I'm going to spend a lot of time just kind of, again, pinballing around here and seeing what I can find. And eventually, it's going to go from 9 a.m. moving very freely and picking up all sorts of things to about 9:30, 9:40, where it's like molasses, and it'll be that way the rest of the day, where it's like, okay, now it's time, let's go take a break and get breakfast or, you know, whatever, and Carmel and I meet up and do that. You know, DC is going to probably give away things like buttons. Sideshow's going to give away gift cards. You know, some of these are, a lot of times they do one thing more than another. Dark Horse, definitely keep an eye on them for their lottery drawings. I'm never a fan of lotteries in general, but if I'm going to do a lottery, I want it to be something that moves fast, and that Dark Horse line always moves fast. We've gotten some really cool posters signed over there from, you know, Korra and from different things in the Whedonverse. They do some big time signings at that booth, and it's a very simple draw a ball. If you get, I think it's if you get the white, you win. If you get the black, you lose, or vice versa. They let you pick a wristband from one of their signings that day. You pick it up, you show up later. I'm a big fan of how they do those drawings there, and it is something that definitely will probably go for it sometime in the con. As I said, Hasbro and Mattel, I mean, one of my highlights last year was getting an autograph from Joe Quesada, you know, big guy over there at Marvel. I've never had the opportunity to meet him in all the cons we've gone to. He did some artwork for the Daredevil large-scale Marvel Legends figure they did last year, and so he was just signing these like little mini prints, and I was able to get a ticket early in the morning, and then loop back there at like 2 o'clock or whatever, get in line and meet the guy, get a picture, get in. I was like, oh, this is like super cool. Like I would have ended up waiting in a really long line for him if he ever showed up at another con we attended, but it was a way around it. Mattel have gotten all sorts of freebies there in the morning. Picked up a one-year Battlestar Galactica Hot Wheels car they were giving away for free just from a little social media contest. It was like if you were there in the first half hour and you took a selfie of yourself and posted it on social media with like the A-Team van or something, they would give you one of their exclusives. And so these things, you know, pay attention to signage, and most importantly, pay attention to the individuals working at these booths. Talk to them about what is going on. Ask questions, be very kind. You know, hey, do you have any idea if you're going to be giving this out today, tomorrow? You know, you find these things. The con, to me, one of the most exciting things is that every day is a little bit different. Every morning, you know, there's so many autographs from Dave Filoni to LL Cool J to Mark Echo that have picked up on that convention floor that never anticipated. You know, Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, and the list goes on of all these experiences, and almost all of them happened from just showing up on the floor, being there early and ready to pinball around, and opportunities opening up. You know, Ant-Man t-shirts. I was wearing my Ant-Man t-shirt yesterday from the original movie. Picked that up over here. Our dogs play with like Yoda, you know, Star Wars toys that Petco gave away at the Lucasfilm Pavilion. There's so many fun things, but it really is about being open and monitoring social media. Now, I will definitely, as I said, on the Parks and Cons account, be posting those things, but hopefully you guys too, if you don't mind, you know, at us on Twitter and let us know if you find something really cool. Again, take care of yourself first and get your thing, and then let us know, and you know, maybe we'll be able to make our way over there. But the floor is a fantastic time. You know, you're going to have photo ops at AMC and places like that. You know, you have to decide stars. Is it worth my time to make my way into the book for photo ops? I'm not big on spending time for photo ops, just not my thing. I really like to spend time trying to pick up the freebies and exclusives, but whatever the experience is, you know, if you're there early, it really pays off. The people that wait out here, by the time you make your way into the floor, it's really going to be sticky and not moving. And then the last part to talk about over here, for our friends that have ADA access, you'll be able to enter from over here. So you are the exception on the first floor. Everybody else on the first floor is going to be waiting till the queues clear at sales and over here above Hall H. But those that have ADA access, they will be able to access over here. I remember my year at the convention after having surgeries and being in a wheelchair, and Carmel and I were coming in over here, and I remember just pushing myself as fast as I could, or getting her help to get a turbo boost to get over here, and then we would separate, and she would kind of walk over here and get stuff, and I would start, you know, rolling around in my wheelchair and trying to, you know, see what I could see. It was difficult a lot of times in a wheelchair, but being able to, you know, a lot of times I would roll to the front of a line and just ask them like, hey, what's going on here? And sometimes they would allow me to just pick up the swag piece right there, and sometimes they'd say get to the back of the line, or sometimes they say my attendant would need to help. But either way, it was a entirely different experience, and I'm glad I had that, because one really nice thing over here with the ADA access too is it's a much clearer drive to these booths, at least, whereas this gets really choked up in small press immediately. It's kind of crazy because as soon as you hit here, it's like a wall of humanity, whereas entering over here much more open. For ADA access, again, much more open as well. So lots of fun things on the floor, from signings to swag to exclusives. Again, the exclusive portal is going to greatly change some things this year. We will see how that all looks and what happens with that. But definitely we will be sharing things in real time. And again, we have that Facebook group. If there's something you're not able to get, from swag to exclusives, we do not allow in our Facebook group any sale of any items, but we do allow trading. You know, if you go to Conan and get this really cool pop, you've got your, you know, your Star Wars pop from Conan, and you ask me to, you know, or let's say I go to Conan and I get the Star Wars pop, and you have a Dr. Aphra, I would definitely trade that for that, because Dr. Aphra, again, going back to my kind of starting point, is just, it's an exclusive I really want this year. It's probably my #1 exclusive right now. I think it's really cool. And so I'd be willing to trade that. So we do have that going on in the Facebook group as well. But, you know, when it comes to those exclusive portals, again, kind of think about those different layers. Hopefully you win. If you don't win, go to the friends first. If you don't go to the, you know, friends, talk to the people at the booth as well, you know, and then layer out from there to go to strangers in Facebook groups. And again, at the end of the day, some things do go up in price. Definitely. There are things that go up in price. If you're looking for that, you know, Death Star pack of vintage collection figures, years from, what was it, 2011, 2012, that has gone up like double or maybe more. It's like $1,000 set now. So not everything goes down, but a lot of things do. And I think if I'm patient, probably I can get that Dr. Aphra set in December for cheaper than I can in July on eBay. So we'll see. So hopefully you wish me luck. I definitely wish you all luck. Regardless, have a fantastic Comic-Con. I think this is the year I might be the most excited for it. There's so many things on the floor that interest me. There's so many offsites that interest me. There's so many panels that interest me this year. So I know for myself, I'm going to have a blast. I'm positive about that. Hopefully you have a great time as well. Let us know. Hit us up, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of those spots. We do also have our some more tips over on our podcast feed. We have 3 podcasts dedicated San Diego Comic-Con tips for this year. And also, if you want to just know kind of about the experiences from last year, especially if you're a first-time attendee, we recorded 2 podcasts during the con last year. If you go back in our feed to last July, you can listen to those and hear some of the finds that we had and some of the things that surprised us. Might help you as well as a first-time attendee, or just help you get a Comic-Con fix as you're making your way out to San Diego and getting ready for the show. So with that said, we're going to wrap up here, and until next time, we'll see you in line at Comic-Con.